Today we're going to talk about a bunch of new shades that were released from Shine by SD recently. These were sent to me in PR from Shine by SD, so thank you so much to Shine for sending these to me. With that being said, I'm going to be inherently biased due to receiving these in PR and also because I have a collaboration with the brand, the Earthborn Collection. As always, I'm going to try to remain as fair and objective as possible. I know some of you have been patiently waiting for this video, so I won't make you wait any longer. Let's go ahead and get into each shade. Let's start with the Moonlite Collection. This is the new collection that was released. These remind me a lot in concept of the shades from my collab, so if you enjoyed those, you will most likely enjoy the shade from this collection as well. First up, we have Mist, which is described as a pale pearl lavender with blue sparkles and a slight pink shift. My first thought when I saw this is that it reminds me a lot of Ice Blink from my collab. So it's an iridescent that seems to have a layer of orange-red sparkles and then another layer of blue sparkles on top of it, similar to Ice Blink. However, the tone of blue sparkles in this shade is more of a cool blue, almost indigo, compared to Ice Blink where they're more of like a warmer sky blue. These formulas are also very similar in that they're very sparkly and dimensional, but not necessarily textured. Fairy Touch is described as a soft lavender with shifts of light pink and blue sparkles. So this to me is pretty much the same as Mist, the shade I just showed you, but with a sheer muted indigo base. Again, it's absolutely gorgeous and complex, but I don't know if you would need both Mist and Fairy Touch, especially if you already have Ice Blink in your collection. I think you could just pick one or the other, depending on if you want a more true iridescent or if you want something that has a bit of a base to it. I mean, you don't need any of these, but I'm saying if you're trying to make a decision, I don't think you need both. Okay, next up we have Illumination. So it's described as a light sparkly blue with silver, pink, and slight teal shift. This is a chunky boy. It's more flaky and textured than the other shades in the Moonlite Collection, and this is denoted on the website. This is like a teal blue, almost silver shifting iridescent, and it has flecks of lilac in it. It's absolutely stunning, and it smooths out to a super sparkly finish. I love Shine by SD's flaky shades because I feel like they're not as thick as some other formulas, so they smooth out to just this beautiful concentrated wash of sparkle. Glimpse is described as a soft maroon with a slight bronze shift in pink and purple specks. This is another shade where when I first looked at it, I thought, this looks pretty familiar. It reminds me a lot of Fata Morgana from my collab, but it has a deeper base. So maybe if you were interested in Fata Morgana, but you felt like it was too sheer for you, want something a little bit more base to it, this might be something you're interested in. It has a semi-sheer burgundy base and it shifts from purple to orange to gold, and I also see teal and pink flecks throughout it, similar to Fata Morgana. Frisky is described as a golden peachy pink with shifts of gold and red sparkles. This is a standout in my opinion. This is so unique and dimensional. It has this sheer hot pink base and then a ton of gold, silver, purple flecks. It's so complex. It's one of those shades that just catches the light in a million ways. It's ethereal but also high impact. It's just absolutely stunning and surprisingly pretty unique to my collection, you'll see in the comparisons. Sizzle is described as a peach with strong shifts of gold, yellow, and gold and pink sparkles. This one is a beautiful iridescent with mainly pink shift from straight on, but again, it's just packed with all these different colored sparkles. I see mainly hot pink sparkles that look so fiery, especially in the direct light, but there's just a whole confetti of different colors in there. It's super high impact and sparkly. Sunglow is described as a sparkly iridescent yellow with green and pink sparkles. This has a sheer yellow base and it shifts to a silver, but the main thing I see when I look at it, again, is all the multicolored sparkles, teal, pink, green, and then the yellow sparkles. Has a smaller particle size, so it's quite smooth but still sparkly. Okay, so we have 3 new shades from the Eternal Collection. First is Fire Ember, described as a deep red-brown base with olive gold shift and green gold sparkles. A spicy neutral alert. This one is so special. It has a sheer muted red base that you don't really see unless you're actively looking for it. But what you do see is this layer of olive and gold sparkles that are so dimensional and reflective, and I think the contrast between that warm base and the gold olive sparkles is what makes it look like a brown from straight on. It's so interesting because it does look like a brown to me, but if I were to put this next to an actual brown, it looks like an olive gold shade. Ageless is described as an olive earthy green with pink and gold sparkles. This is another one that's right up my alley. It's this desaturated, cooler tone olive green. It shifts to maybe a teal, and it has these contrasting pink purple sparkles throughout it. It's very smooth, it's a bit opaque, but it still has all these beautiful dimensional sparkles. Last for the Eternal Collection new shades is Firebell, described as a muted red with a soft orange shift. This is a bit more smooth and subdued, has a muted neutral base, and it shifts to red-orange. It It reminds me of almost like a velvety finish. Don't think this is necessarily the most unique shade. It doesn't really have any of those like dimensional sparkles in it. Okay, we have one new shade from the Divinity Collection called Catch Up. This is described as a sparkly green with a gold and blue shift. This is another chunky, flaky boy. It has a semi-sheer green base, shifts from green, teal, blue, and smooths out to a super sparkly finish. This is another one that was surprisingly unique to my collection. The finish is very similar to the shade Illumination from the Moonlite Collection. So again, it's like textured, flaky, but smooths out to a beautiful concentrated wash of sparkles. Okay, then we have one new shade from the Halo Horizon collection called Denim Dream, described as a deep blue with a purple shift and black holographic sparkles. And this to me has like a sheer blue base, and it shifts from like a deep warm blue indigo purple with those black holographic sparkles. And just applying it on its own, I noticed it was pretty patchy, so I would definitely recommend using a tacky base if you do pick this up, and it does clearly indicate that on the website. Okay, then we have some shimmers in duochromes. The first one is Mossy Mosaic, described as a muted green with a neutral brown shift. This has a smooth formula. It has almost like a wet rock finish, if that makes sense. Like the way it shines, it looks like a rock that was like polished or is wet. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, it's like a brown base and it shifts from green to like this really muted purple. Next is Golden Girl. This one doesn't have a description on the website, but if you follow me on Instagram, you've already heard me screaming from the rooftops about it. This is a $5 USD eyeshadow, and it's freaking gorgeous. So beautiful. It's a brown base with gold sparkles and has a slight blue shift. The amount of dimension in this $5 eyeshadow, like it has layers and layers and layers of dimensional sparkles. It's so gorgeous on the eyes. Like, I think this is the most dimensional gold eyeshadow in my collection. Cannot recommend it enough, especially if you love gold eyeshadow. Okay, next, Sweetness. This is described as a soft burgundy. This to me is like a muted warm purple, maybe crossing a bit into the muted fuchsia territory, and it has a bunch of lilac flecks of sparkle throughout it. This reminds me a lot of Night Creature from Mothership 3, but it's more sparkly and dimensional. This one I can see myself using a lot to add in custom palettes, especially to like round out a color story. One of those shades that I feel like is sparkly enough to use as like the star of a look for me, but it also would be great for layering another sparkly shade on top of, since it has that kind of like opaque base. Okay, and the last shade we're going to talk about today is Skyscraper. This is described as a soft mid-tone sky blue. It shears out to this beautiful reflective wash of color, but can also be built up to be more opaque. I think this is really unique tone of blue, and then it has these purple micro flecks of sparkle that add a bit of complexity. Okay, so now that we've gone over all the individual shades, let's get into the comparisons. Okay, so if you want to know my top 3 based on first impressions, I would say Golden Girl for sure, Frisky, and Fire Ember. I really think most people will get along with any of the shades in the Moonlite collection, especially if you really enjoyed the shades from my collab. But let me know which ones stand out to you. Are you interested in picking any of these up for like Black Friday or anything, or any go on your wish list? Let's chat about it in the comments. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.